Hello everyone, this is Jay Watson. I'm here to show you how to make a simple Navbar CSS HTML menu. I have a folder called Navbar on my desktop. I have Sublime Text and I have my two files already opened with Sublime Text. I have just a skeleton HTML document with the head element with the title. Navbar is made simple, my link to my style sheet, and then I have my styles.css. The first thing I want us to do is actually create the HTML that we need. And so I'm going to use the new HTML5 nav element and then just put an unordered list in here. Of course, if you wanted to, you could give it an ID. And then I'm going to specify my list items. So I'm going to of course it'll be links, so I'm going to use the anchor tag href equal whatever the link is. I'm just going to put a hashtag or pound sign here, and let's call it home and list item. And so I have one list item ready. I'm just going to copy and paste this to save some time, and let's name this about. Let's name this services. Let's name this contact. Save this. Let's minimize our text editor and let's click on index.html and we have a navbar. We have a navbar. We just have an unordered list with links. That will change here shortly. Let me switch to my styles.css and let's style nav first. Okay, I want to give this a position of relative. If you haven't studied CSS positioning, that's okay. For now, just use this in this instance. Give it a width of 1,000 pixels, 100, not 100, 1,000 pixels. Just pulling this off the top of my head, or out of the top of my head, off the top of my head, yeah. Height of 35 pixels, and a background of gray, and let's center it. Margin 0 auto. Save this. Control S, Command S, depending on what you're on, and we have like a little gray nav bar looking thing. Okay, so now let's style the unordered list part. And of course, we only want to style the unordered list inside our nav element. Okay, so we're going to reach here and we're going to go nav UL, or to be more descriptive, I'll do an arrow pointing to the UL. Works fine either way. And then I'm going to first take away the bullets. And I'm going to set the margin on my unordered list to 0 and the padding to 0. And this will change the way it looks. Beautiful menu, right? Okay, so let's reach farther within our nav element. Let's go through the unordered list, the list items, and anchor tags. And this is a little bit overkill, but you get the point. Curly braces. And let's do our magic here, which is float left. And that's going to cause our list items, specifically our anchor tag list items, to float left. And they're gonna, if there's room, they'll just bump next to each other, right? Bump on around. You can see how that happened. These list items have found room and they're just bumping along right beside each other. We're then going to take the underline off, which is text decoration, none. I'm going to even specify a color of light gray. And I'm going to put, let's go ahead and refresh here. You can see what's going on here. And let's go back to Sublime. And let's put a little padding on here. Now I could do padding dash top blah blah blah, padding dash right, all this crazy stuff. Who wants to do that? Let's save time. And padding, you can list the 4 values that it will affect, or the 4 areas that it will affect, the 4 positions that it will affect, I guess, starting at the top, and it goes clockwise. So top, I do not want any padding. Right, 25 pixels. Bottom, 0. Left, 25 pixels. Did you follow that? Hey, stop that and rewind if you need to. Understanding that will help you out. And we have some padding here in between each of these list items. Let's go back to Sublime and let's add one more attribute here, line height, and we want to set it equal to the height of our containing element, which is 35 pixels. And let's save this, and we're centered. We have a nice little nav bar. Everybody wants to know how to do this. We've done it. You're like, not really, but hopefully this will help you understand how it works better. Now if we wanted to center our nav bar, instead of float, we would take this float out, and we would actually specify in the list items, not the anchor, and we could tell it to float here if we want to, but we're going to say display in line instead of float, and it should look pretty much the same. And then here in the nav, text align center, save this, and we have a centered nav bar. You know, I really don't want a centered nav bar now, so I'm going to just Control Z it or Command Z it and take that out. Stepping back. It's a valuable tool to learn how to use that. And we have a floating nav bar, but you know how to do it now, right? If you need to. Floating left, we can float right, all this good stuff. A very common design is to float it right and then have like a logo. Of course, that would be a thicker nav bar, but have like a logo over here on the left side. Anyway, one more thing before we hang it up here. Nav ULLIA colon, no spaces here, no spaces, hover. Why do I have a semicolon? I have no clue why I have a semicolon. You probably know because you're watching this tutorial. And we can do things like we can control the color and make it something crazy like red. Not really. We would want like a subtle change. Yeah, see, that's not subtle at all. You wouldn't want to do that. Maybe like from light gray to white or something like that. Or we can change the background. Okay, our background's gray. Let's change it to black when you hover over it. Okay. Yeah, not bad at all, right? For just a few minutes. So that's all the CSS I have right here. That's it. And that's pretty much those are the necessary elements. Hopefully you understand how this works. A lot of times when you copy menus off the internet, you see some overlapping rules and they're applied in places that they don't need to be applied. This is what you need to have to make it work. All right. Yeah. Adios, amigos.